I suspect that tonight I might do something a little different, and that is to keep it short. I won't take any questions. And the reason behind this is that I think that sometimes if there's too much talking, it can distract from an important point. It can go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next. So this evening, I just want to focus on what non-doership, or why it's said that we are not the doer. And I think that this is described, what I'm going to talk about today, is described often, and it just doesn't hit us as being potentially accurate because our experience is so different. So life is described in many teachings a particular way, and in summary, it's basically happening according to God's will, or a predetermined story unfolding, or a spontaneous arising in consciousness, or an illusion, Maya, that this is not real. Now, these are all different ways of saying something very important. And what's significant is if we start to question, could this really be the case? So I'm going to use the notion that life is dreamlike, like a dream. It's not necessarily for you to believe life is a dream, but I will use that description, that life is dreamlike, to make the point. And that is that what seems like an objective reality may actually not be. And that what is going on in each moment of life may be a creation that is unfolding moment after moment after moment, much like a dream at night does. And that we are essentially characters in that dream. And that whatever we say, wherever we are at a particular point in time, whatever objects are around us, whatever feelings we have, the entirety of the experience is completely created to be exactly the way it is, and we are not the doers of anything that happens. Now, as I said, the significance of this is if we become present with life as it exists right now, which is the experience, the visual objects, the sound objects, all of the sense objects, the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, even the sense of existence. And obviously, if we know all of those components of life in this moment, then there must be awareness. You are aware of your own existence and everything else that co-arises with that in this moment. And can it be that that is all an appearance in mind? Not the mind that you may say is your own mind, but rather what you might call you that we traditionally think has a mind is actually arising inside mind. And so mind is not brain. Mind is just a word that is referring to that which can imagine. That which can imagine all of life into existence and therefore that in which all of life exists and is not separate from. And it's very important, if we're going to use this analogy, for one's contemplation to extend to the point where we don't keep imagining the table as a solid three-dimensional object that has to arise and exist in space, but rather it is the experience of a table, the appearance of a table that appears not in space, but in consciousness, in mind, just like the dream at night. From within the dream may be of solid objects that appear like they are existing in space. But as we contemplate a dream at night, it is arising inside consciousness. It's arising inside mind. Now, when we look at it as the person asleep dreaming, then we imagine it as the person's mind. Now, let's look at that as a mirror down version, a reduced down version of the bigger imagination of life, arising in a mind that holds, encompasses the whole present moment experience, your present moment experience. Nothing more exists for this exploration outside of your experience of life. The dream character at night may well be standing on the beach, imagining that another country exists, or his house exists 5 kilometers or 5 miles away. And as we use the night dream as an example, we see that the character might imagine that those things exist. However, all that really exists is that particular frame of the dream. So I encourage one to explore the happening of this moment as if it is created and you are part of the creation. You are not doing the creating. You have been created along with everything else in the present moment. What I mean by you is you, the character, the person. And in the dream, the person speaks. The dream is just what I'm referring to as the experience, and the experience that has been created in consciousness. So consciousness in this case means awareness, really, that which is aware of the dream. So the creation, the present moment, with all of its apparent objects, arises inside mind. We could say, call it the universal mind or the mind of God. The mind that is awareness or consciousness. The mind that is source. And essentially, the key characteristic of mind is that it is aware. It is aware of whatever is happening. And so from this point of view, whatever happens is a happening. Life is a happening. Life is sprung forth into existence, not existence of all of time, I'm talking about existence right now. And if this principle can be taken as the way we come to see life, not see it as in, oh, I just believe that the table is spontaneously present in this moment and doesn't have a fundamental existence, but rather qualitatively get a sense that everything is arising inside consciousness and essentially is made of consciousness or awareness. I'm using the terms interchangeably. And a key to that is to focus, to bring attention onto the awareness that is aware of everything that happens at a particular moment. That if a tree exists, it exists within the field of awareness. Should the tree be outside of the field of awareness, it wouldn't be part of the experience. Notice how important, how true it is that in order for life to be known in the moment, whatever it is, the words, they must be within the field of awareness. That an object doesn't exist in experience unless it is within the field of awareness. And I'm talking about the physical objects, the sound objects, the smells, the tastes, and even thoughts and feelings and emotions. Everything arises inside awareness and is registered by awareness. So whatever happens is destiny unfolding. It is the creation of life arising exactly as it is created. And that arising of life is, in practice, either pleasurable or painful. And it is our attitude of personal doership that is at the root of all of the uncomfortableness, all of the psychological uncomfortableness with oneself and with the other. You know, we spend time during the day wondering what we should be doing, questioning whether what we're doing is important or whether it's a waste of time. Instead of just appreciating if it's here, it's God's will. If it's here because it was created. There's nothing for you to think about. The past happened exactly the way it was created. What's there to think about? The future will happen exactly as it's going to be created. What's there to think about? The blame toward the other is an assumption that the other could have done things differently and that it was their free will and their volition and their own choice that made them do what it is you're not happy with them about. That was God's will. That was the dream created that way. Who's there to be angry with? And if life is functioning through you, which really means you are functioning a particular way according to the dream, and something goes wrong, that was because it was destiny, part of the dream. Who's there to be angry about? Or who's there? Who did it wrong? Now, the thing is that, as I said, this is too radical, too different a view. We say yes, but. I mean, what if this is essential to freedom? What if the belief in personal doership, the questioning, the doubting, is because we just don't know this description of life as a happening, as an arising within consciousness, as an experience within awareness, to be true. So spend some time questioning it, inquiring, how can this be? What does it mean? Who am I? What is real? And remember that according to the concepts in this teaching, liberation or enlightenment in practical terms is the end of suffering. It's peace of mind, which is the end of suffering. So if you're inquiring into the nature of life as a spontaneous happening and not my doing, actually seeing that you and I are part of the spontaneous arising in the moment. The words, the thoughts, the feelings are all part of the predetermined story of life. What is the predetermined story of life? It is that which arises moment after moment after moment. So we get to see the predetermined story of life as it spontaneously appears in each moment. So the inquiry into, can it be? Can life be like this? Is this true? We should always bring it back to, and how is that relevant for peace of mind and daily living? And we'll see that it is the belief in personal doership that is at the base of judgment towards the other, is at the base of blame and shame and pride and worry and anxiety and expectation. If we truly see in each moment everything is happening, that if suffering arises, that's part of the happening and what may arise with it. Because if an insight that life is a happening happens, that's because the predetermined story of life has included it. And then following that, there's a chance, good chance, because of the way this story of life follows apparent cause and effect, that any suffering is just going to be cut off because it will be seen if it's all happening. The story of guilt, blame, pride, worry, and expectation has no basis. And so the reason that the story keeps arising, even when life is described like this, is because we go, oh yeah. And then it gets put down and we go back to living life as if they did that and it was because they chose to and they could have been different. I did that. And this is life arising exactly as it's destined to arise. All of it, from the beginning of time to the end of time. So if we can keep that and it keeps coming back, everything is happening according to God's will. It should cut off the suffering. But the seeing that all there is this moment arising fresh over and over again, and that we are part of that moment and not separate from it and not the ones making it happen, that our thinking happens, comes out of the spontaneity. If that's really seen, then the cutting off is a cutting off because the misunderstanding is countered by the re-emergence of the remembering. It is. So if you want one of my favorite definition of truth, truth is what is. Which means what is leaves it at that, undefined. Truth is the totality. And the totality is not knowable. As soon as we say, oh, truth is this or that, it is. Whether there's a universe or multiverses or just this present moment, whether this present moment arises in God or whether it's artificial intelligence or whether it's an arising inside of the neural network of a biological organism that exists in a broader world or universe. It's all really irrelevant as long as we just relate the truth as what is and we haven't collapsed it down to anything in particular. It is what it is. So I'll finish off with Ramana's, one of Ramana's takes on this, if I can remember it. Basically, I think he says, everything that happens according to the great ordainer. Whatever is destined to happen, no matter what force in the universe tries to stop it from happening, it will happen. Whatever is destined not to happen, no matter what force in the universe tries to make it happen, it will not happen. Understanding this means the best course of action is to remain silent. And the silence, to me, represents the absence of any of the narrative of the thinking mind that says, it shouldn't have been like this. Why did you do that? Why did I do that? Am I doing the right thing? What's my purpose in life? All of that is when we don't realize it's all happening exactly as it's meant to happen. Nothing is out of place. And that brings us back to silence. And when life is seen like that, there is more connection to the witnessing awareness that is silent, watching everything unfolding, which really means watching the present moment morph from one form to the next, from one appearance in consciousness or appearance in awareness to the next. And that appearance is a multi-dimensional appearance of time, of space, of objects, physical, tangible and intangible, thoughts, emotions, feelings, the sense of existence. None of it separate from the mind in which it arises, the mind of which it is made.